Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn, for this Monday, the 10th day of November. Okay, everybody, I want to thank you very much for joining us. What I'm going to do before we even get to the sponsors, let me deal with our forecast for today. Please like, share, and subscribe. The sun is in Scorpio. The moon is in the fixed sign of Leo. Mercury went retrograde yesterday. It's going to stay that way up until the end of the month, practically. It's 11 universal month. It's a 4 universal week, a 3 universal day. So those under the signs of Pisces and Sagittarius, or if you were born on the 3rd, 12th, 21st, or 30th of the month, well, I would say this is your day for the most part. Some of our supporters are Recept. If you click on the code, you'll get a discount of 35% and take advantage of that. Also, another of our supporters is Melinda Valentine. So Numeralytics, there is her number at the bottom. So please click on that to get your information. And again, since we're in the water sign of Scorpio, I would suggest you pick up a 4-part series of her elements, but this one is water reflection. Also, Uchenna, his book is now out. I'm talking about, yes, you could get the ebook, excuse me, but now you can order the book in and of itself, okay? So that's going to be good. So just go to Amazon, place your order, and go from there. Okay, how come it's not? Also, Nicholas Brooklyn, at 1396 Fulton Street. They're having an event this weekend on the 14th, and from 7 to 9 p.m. But also on that day, that Sunday, rather, King Simon is going to be at Nicholas Brooklyn celebrating, I think, 30 years of doing what he does best, which is perhaps one of the greatest promoters I know. And so please support that. I will be out there that Sunday, the 16th. All right. Also, Miss Kimberly's A Manifest on Purpose. She's written her book. So just go to purchase it at Amazon, leave a review, take a screenshot, email your screenshot and business name and incorporation, and she will present a little presentation for you. And of course, Jazz Aphrodite's Knocking from the Inside now on audiobook. So that's going to be interesting. It's very interesting because out of all the 12 months in the year, from January to December, November is the only one that's a universal month in terms of a universal master number 11. So what makes it interesting this November is not only is it in the 11th position month, but this November of 2025 is a master number 11. Now, let me show you how I did this. Okay. Put my camera on. My camera is on. This is crazy. I have no idea what's going on with this. Why can't you see me? Let me see something. Okay. Can you see me now? This is, if you can see me, please let me know. This is very, very interesting. I can see myself on the screen. Jazz Aphrodite, am I on the camera? Is the camera on? Can I get a confirmation from somebody who it's? No. Okay. Why? Why don't I see it? I don't see why I am not on. You know, this is the most amazing thing. I am looking at my camera. Folks, I have no idea what's going on, to be honest. Standard, okay. See. Folks, I don't know what to say. I really, really don't. I can see myself just as clear. I have no idea why I'm not being seen. You can hear in the back, but the screen is black with your photo. I don't understand this. I really, really don't. Okay. So anyway, let me explain. This is an 11 universal month for November. How did I do it? On the screen should have been, what I've done is I posted whereby you could see it, well, at least from my vantage point. I took November, underneath it, I put 2025. When I added it down and added across the course 2036, which equals 11 universal month. Then when I went to, and you know what's interesting, yesterday, Mercury went retrograde. So if you took 11 at the top, 9 underneath, put 2025 underneath that, and add it down, it adds to 2045, which is 11 universal day. So that meant that when Mercury went retrograde yesterday, it was actually an 11 universal day and an 11 universal month. Now, believe it or not, Mercury goes retrograde from yesterday to 9th all the way, and it ends on the 29th. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but if you notice, 2 plus 9 equals 11. So without question, there is definitely something that's affecting this month. Now, by the way, this year is also, tomorrow is a holiday. It's Veterans Day. Banks are closed. Government offices are closed. There is no mail delivery at all. And so what happens is that that actually this day represents, or tomorrow represents, the end of World War I. Now, World War I ended on November the 11th of 1918, and it went into effect in the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. And they estimated 11,000 soldiers were either killed or wounded during that skirmish of World War I. Now, although they used to call it Armistice Day, in 1954, under Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th president of the United States, born October the 14th, they changed it to Veterans Day. Now, Veterans Day was designed to honor all the soldiers from all the branches of the military, from Marines, the Army, the Navy, Air Force. So they changed it to Veterans Day. And what's interesting is that if you look at Veterans Day, that word adds up to 11 letters. Now, what happens is between 1968 and 1974, Veterans Day was changed and moved back from November into the fourth Monday in October. But Gerald Ford, the president born July the 14th, changed it back in 1975. Now, what's interesting is this: 1975 adds up to the master number 22. And Gerald Ford, believe it or not, was the 11th president of the United States, and 3 plus 8 is 11. So I just thought it was so ironic. And I wish you could see this. So I need to figure out why I cannot see. I see my image just as clear. I see the screen just as clear. But at any rate, if you have any comments. So, and by the way, so tomorrow on Veterans Day at 11 a.m., they will begin to honor. There's always 2 minutes of silence, because 1 plus 1 is 2. The first minute is to honor all of the soldiers that return away from service in the field or battle. The second minute is to honor all of the soldiers who have fallen in the war. So that's why they have that, right? So please click on the, this is so weird. Well, I'll get it straight. Anyway, and let me see if we can see the comments. All right. Okay, Eartha Pierce says, good evening. I wonder if you can see the comments on the screen. Please let me know. But I think it's just very, very interesting. Now, let me tell you about this month of November, which is 11 Universal Month. 11 represents things from on high, inspiration, illumination, intuition. It means that everybody this month, if possible, should follow their own spiritual insights. They should lead by light and compassion. Probably they should kind of get into some meditation. Even if you don't get into meditation, find time alone to kind of reassess what you're doing with your life. Also, it is to speak your truth, to trust the divine downloads. Now, what's interesting, I explained that in an 11 cycle or 11 day, 11 month, 11 year, this is when we get these interesting downloads, as they call them. And they're like phenomenal. And when you get these downloads, what it simply means is to make sure, if possible, you write them down. Because these are some of the ideas that just may make all the difference in the world. Also, if you can, stay disciplined, channel your nervous energy to a purpose, and have faith over fear. Because right now, things are so crazy in this world with unemployment, wars. I mean, it sounds like a mess. But despite it all, build your faith, have faith over all the things that we're doubtful about. Protect your aura and your peace. This is very, very important because yes, it's 11, but 1 + 1 is 2. And 2s are normally your peacemakers. They don't like noise, confusion. They just want to really be at peace. And so balance your vision with practical grounding. Now, the one thing you should not do is ignore your intuition. So you know how you got a feeling or hunch about something? And now that Mercury is retrograde, well, you will find that this is a time to kind of like not ignore your intuition and seek perfection. Don't try to seek perfection because nothing is perfect. Don't become impatient with those who may not be as swift as you, learn as fast as you, because don't forget we were all there at one point in time ourselves probably. And don't get lost in a fantasy. Don't let such things that get so carried away get the best of you. And don't doubt your calling. In other words, it's important if you can in this 11 personal month or universal month, I should say, to establish a purpose, to establish a goal, to establish objectives, and don't overpromise spiritually. Don't, kind of say, okay, I'm going to go back to this, I'm going to meditate or whatever, and don't do it, okay? Do remember to hit the like buttons. Now, it said I can't be seen on the screen, but I'm curious as can you see the comments in the section here, all right? So, for example, Jazz Aphrodite is saying thumbs up, thumbs up. Can you see that? We got Nancy Drew from Florida. Happiest and wonderful evening. Lloyd, Jazz, and everyone else from Teresa. Okay, good. Thanks, Jazz. Now, I will take birthdays, and here's my good buddy, Donald Thomas in Hawaii. LLoyd to you, Donald. There is something that's happening that I don't quite understand. And by the way, Melanated 8, she is always there, one of the first ones out the gate, and A Sproul. But if you'd like to leave your birthday, or if you experience an 11 or 22, for example, in the case of me personally, my mother entered the hospital on the 22nd of the month, a master number, and she passed several weeks later on the 11th. another personal month. 2 of my children were born in master number years of the 22. So what master numbers have been in your life, whether they're 11, 22, 33, the most obvious 33 are for those that are Shriners and the Masons. When you become a 33 degrees, that is the most obvious. But for the most part, 22 and 11 are most important. Now, I'm looking at Marla Marabito, who is born on December 21st, 46. She was born at 11:15 p.m. That means she was at the 1, 2, 3, 4. Her sun is sitting in the 4th house at the bottom of the chart. So in this case, what's interesting, she says she's born in 46, but looking at some of the numbers in her name and looking at her birthday, born under the youthful sign of Sagittarius, born under the youthful sign of a number 3, I would say Marla, whatever you might want to refer to it, don't look her age, feel, or act her age at all. Now, she happens to be in a 6th personal year. How I did it was this. I took the month she was born, December, the day she's born, the 21st, but instead of adding her year, I substituted it and put in its place the year I want to know about right now that we're about to end, 2025. So she will be in a 6th personal year, which means for next year, which is right around the corner, 2026, she will be entering a 7th personal year. Okay. And this is how you do it. So what you do is this. What did you ask yourself? What milestones have been in your life? Graduations, relationships, marriage, children's, jobs, careers, recognition. If you can remember the year in which that event took place, you can determine the cycle. For example, I had a client that went to a bank. He said in 1995, which adds up to 24 and 6, and applied for a loan. That was in 1995. And then he said he went back to the same bank, but in 2004, which adds to a 6, and applied for a loan and got it. So he understood his cycles. Excuse me. And in understanding his cycles, he was able to take advantage of it. So if you can understand your cycles, this will help you in terms of whatever milestones are. And then we have highs and lows, illnesses, transitions of family members and friends, setbacks, injuries, whatever the case is. But what I've tried to do is try to take the best of graduations, marriage, children, promotions, first job, first car, whatever the case is. But if you do that, everything is cyclical. So this year, 2025, which is the year of the 9, says now this is the time for everybody to, shall we say, wrap it up, to kind of get everything together. So as we move into 2026, however, it allows you to kind of like plant seeds, start things new, begin to lay the foundation of what you expect of yourself or what you desire of yourself moving forward for the next 9 years. That's why when you start anything in a 1, that it makes all the difference of what your intentions are. So be, as a result, very intentional. So in your case, Marla, you're going into a 7. So it's going to be a year where you begin a seeker of wisdom and knowledge and understanding to gather your senses of how things are going to be. And because it is dealing with the law of attraction, it means don't chase, but rather attract through what you see in your mind's eye. Some call it like doing a vision board, but really when people in a 7 year, I say they should do it on the mental screen of their mind. Now, here's what makes 2026 moving forward unique. If you look at the numbers 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6, every single one of those 4 digits are even numbers. Okay? They're composed of 2s and a 6 and of course a 0. 2 and 6s are your counseling numbers. So it's going to be a year where, yes, it's going to be independent, but we're going to need to kind of support and counsel each other. It's going to be kind of like counterintuitive. In other words, on one hand, it's saying learn how to stand on your own, step out in faith, do the things you need to do, yet at the same time, be open and receptive to helping, sharing, caring, and things of that nature. Now, to give you an oddity, it was in 1999, which has a 28, which is a 10, which adds up to the year of the one. But in that year, every single digit was an odd number, a 1, a 9, a 9, and a 9. So when you're looking at these years, you got to see what is the makeup of them. So in this case, moving forward, 2026, all 4 numbers are even numbers. And so since 2s rule Cancer, 6 rules Taurus, they could play the predominant parts in the scheme of things. But, these are little things I'm doing on my research, okay? So let's see, to Stephen Williams and the Mrs. I know you had a birthday last month, I do believe, Stephen. Happy belated birthday to you out of Chicago. And let's see who we got here. My screen is black again. I didn't touch anything. This is, are you able to see the comments? Like Jazz, great night to you and your wife, Steve Williams. Are you able to at least see them? This is strange. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. Okay, I may even have to take a break to figure out what's going on. This is Quintella, who is one of our regulars. Great day, Jazz, and live with the family, unconditional love and light and beautiful spirits. And thank you very, very much. Okay. Now they said we don't see, but they see the screen. Why, if you can see the screen, you can't see me? And why? And good. Hold on. So this is what I was good. The fact that you can see my PowerPoint. So let me go over this. So this is the PowerPoint explaining why this particular year or month is a 11 universal month. Okay. And so, but what happens is I wanted to also just show you just the irony of looking. So even though, again, tomorrow is a holiday, and I just wanted to show again, for those who may have missed it, that how everything was aligned up with the 11. The war ended in 1918 in the 11th hour, the 11th month, the 11th day. And Veterans Day in and of itself. Now, Armistice Day adds up to 12 letters, but Veterans Day adds up to 11 letters, which I think is interesting. And again, it was moved to October, the 4th Monday of every year in October. But in 1975, which adds up to the master number 22, again, Gerald Ford, who happened to have been a Cancer born July 14th, but the 38th president of the United States, it's going to be a while before we get to 83, adds up to an 11 already. So anyway, let me continue with my comments. Someone said I'm still sitting in the dark, but let me tell you, from this end, I can see myself visually. But anybody who has suggestions about their birthdays, and I'm glad that you can see the comments. I do appreciate that. And now this is interesting from Mo63. They says, how you doing, Baba Lloyd? It's been a New York minute, but I'm here. They are born November the 19th of 1977 in Dakar, Senegal at 2:20 a.m. So what say you? Also, do you do annual forecast readings for 2026? Yes. And in fact, I just recorded the 2026 forecast. It'll be out in maybe a couple of weeks or something, but I've already recorded that for the year. And so in this case, when I look at, and see, here's the thing. When you look at a person's birthday, I don't know how the people do it, but what I do is I look to see what ingredients went into the birthday. If you look at his birthday, he's got 1s and 9s and 7s, like a pair of cards. He's got 4 1s. He's got 2 9s. He's got 2 7s. if you notice, every single number in his birthday are odd numbers. Odd numbers mean a person is more proactive about something. Okay. This is what they call masculine or feminine. And it doesn't mean like, it just simply means when numbers are odd, that means they are more the ones who kind of take action. Let's do something about it. Even numbers are more strategic. They're more the strategist. That's the difference. So it tells me, sir, Mo 369, that you don't take orders well. Not in this lifetime, will you? I would say that if you own your own business, now you were born at 22:20 a.m. Now I don't know the time frame from Senegal to the West, but if you were there, that tells me, looking from my standard of it, you would have been, your sun is sitting in the second house, the house of possession or the sign of Taurus. But in this case, though, your key numbers are 1, 4, and 9. Your best days are always on a Sunday and a Tuesday more than any other time. It also indicates that your months to power up and do the things you need to do will always be in and around February, April, August, and November, and just before you get to those months. Now, here's the thing, too. There's a little known secret, and I don't know where I got this from, but if you take the year you were born, that tells me something. So, for example, if he was born in 1977, which adds up to 24. And so what that does is 1, 0, 1. So that tells me in the year of 2001, when you were 24 years old, something very important probably happened or developed in you. And yes, during the reading for 2026, well, that tells me, first of all, you will be entering a 4 personal year, which is one of your numbers. 4 is foundational. 4 is structure. 4 is about having a sense of order and purpose and direction. It is about having an agenda. It is knowing about moving from point A to point B to C to D until you get to your objective. Yet, on the other hand, 4 rules Uranus, which deals with the odd and unusual, the unexpected. And so if you can keep these things in mind, yes, to have your plans, but at the same time, if the plans don't always go, and especially when Mercury's retrograde, like for example, right now, since Mercury went retrograde yesterday on Sunday the 9th, and it's going to be that way to the 22nd, this would not be the best time to try to do anything and take it seriously, like signing contracts, buying electronics, getting a car, assuming, well, you know what I mean. That is not the way to do it in this case. But at this rate, here's what's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen you. Well, I see the image, but all those ones tells me too, you may have concerns with your eyes. And if you notice, 1s and 9s are fire numbers. So out of 2, 4, 6, 8, you got 6 fire numbers and 2 water numbers. So it tells me you're far more proactive, which tells me not taking orders well. So there's a whole lot, but there's a way I read things and I try to make it practical. But anyway, this should be good. Let's see. Now I have a Sproul here that's born January the 26th. Okay, I think this is Anita Baker's birthday, the singer. But anyway, Angela, you are an Aquarius 8 person. That means you are an air sign with an earth number. And what I'm looking at now, look to see what numbers have been made up. She's got a pair of 1s. She's got a pair of 6s. It's like playing cards at a table. Do you have pairs or do you have, and there are some people with every single digit is a different number. So that means they're more kind of spread out. But in this case, I'm looking at the year she's born, which is the year of the 10-23-5. And then when I look at it, so her month, day, and year or destiny number, life path, birth path numbers are 5. Now, let me tell you how I do this. In our field, as we numerologists do, we got this jargon. All industries have their jargon, whether it's education, banking, whatever the case is. So what they will say is your destiny number, life path, or birth path number. the way I explain it is, so not as, because I've been doing this so long, I began to assume that everybody should know what I'm talking about. But to the lay person like yourself, Sproul, I will say that the month, the day you're born, Angela, symbolically represents that you're in the 5th grade in the school of life, because the birthday is like the pupil, the name is like the teacher. So when I looked at your birthday, it tells me that in this journey, on this existence, from the womb to the tomb, from sunrise to sunset, you will be in a 5 destiny or 5 personal, 5 destiny, life path, birth path number, but you're in the 5th grade. Now, people in the 5th grade, like you are normally fast learners. They normally are multifaceted. They like to do a variety of things. People in the 5th grade normally like to travel a lot. They like to experience a lot of variety. But then when I looked at your name, Angela, the name Angela under the Chaldean system adds up to 18, and 1 + 8 is 9. So it tells me there may be a higher than average probability that one of your parents could have been an Aries or a Scorpio, or in a minor way, a Leo, or born on the 9th, 18th, or 27th of the month. Now, let's say Angela may say, well, my father was neither, or mom, neither a Scorpio, Gemini, Aries, Scorpio, or Leo. But if you notice, she'll say, however, my grandmother named me. Because don't forget, parents aren't the only one who name their children. A grandmother will do it, an aunt will do it, a friend or neighbor will do it. And so if you look at the name of a person who actually named you, there's a higher than average probability that they will attract or represent the birthdays of born on the 9th, 18th, or 27th, or coming under the sign of Aries, Scorpio, or Leo. It also tells me from this name too, that if you've ever, 9 being a martial number because it governs Mars, the war planet, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't date a person in uniform like military, law enforcement, construction, or you yourself may have actually got into the field of law enforcement, security, or whatever the case is like that. But the year that you're heading into is the year where you're starting fresh all over again. And since 2026 is the year of the 1, the signs that are likely to stand out more than the rest, and not that the other signs won't do well, because when I break down each of the months, each month has its own particular signs that kind of get their show place. But for those who are under the sign of Leo, for those who are under the sign of Aquarius, for those who are under the sign of Aries, or born on the 1st, the 4th, the 10th, the 13th, the 19th, the 22nd, 28th, the 31st, you are the signs and dates of birth that likely to predominate the year for the most part, okay? So anyway, so to purchase my books, just go right to the site that a Jazz Aphrodite I put down. Now, Nancy Drew, she says, I'm 22, my birthday is coming up 11/20, okay? So we'll be the first to wish you a happy birthday. Now, when she says she's a 22, I don't quite know what that means per se, not unless the year, when you add it up, adds up to the master number 22. So anyway, I tell you this. First of all, Nancy, you're in what is called your 52-day critical cycle, all right? And what it indicates is that this is the time to take it easy, especially with Mercury retrograde. In fact, you will go to your birthday on the 20th under retrograde conditions. So just don't assume and just don't jump to conclusions, and take your time, especially if they're important engagements, leaving plenty of time. Although normally you can get from point A to B in 15 minutes, when Mercury's retrograde, something unexpected, a delay, a glitch, or something. So allow for some wiggle room and some extra space. What is also interesting is when I did your name, Nancy, that adds up to 15, and 1 + 5 is 6. Your key numbers are the 2, 7, and 6. So it tells me, Nancy, one of your parents could have either been a Taurus or Libra, or born on the 6th, the 15th, or the 24th, or who in fact ever named you if it wasn't your parents. It tells me from your name and your birthday, you do well in areas related to education, real estate, banking, law, but some kind of service, because 2 is a service number, and the name Nancy, which adds up to 15 under the Chaldean system, is also a service number. So you would do well. In fact, I would expect you, although you will be in a 4 personal year next year, which is not one of your best, but it's interchangeable, but I would expect you to do well because of the fact that those numbers of 2026 are all even numbers, and from your name is a 6, and then you're born on the 20th, which is a 2, which then your numbers are the 2, 7, and 6. So I'd expect it to be a very important year for you. And then, in fact, you'll be in a year of change. You'll be at the midway point in your 9-year cycle. It'll be where you kind of pivot, where you kind of shift, where you kind of move into one area that kind of leads to greater opportunities, hopefully. Okay. All right. So, by the way, from your birthday being Aquarius 8, your numbers are the 8, 4, and 1. Now, here's what's interesting about this combination of a number. This is going to sprawl a second. 8 is misunderstood and 4 is misunderstood. So it tells me you may have to watch when you are misunderstood by people or whatever the case may be. All righty, so let me do this. Okay, this is Chada Kato. Trahai. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. But anyway, she is a master number 11 person. And she's born under the master number sign of Aquarius. So she's an 11 by number and a master number 22 by her zodiac sign, since it rules Uranus, which rules the master number 22. So, in fact, this tells me you should be an enlightened soul. You should come up with all kinds of ideas that make things unique. And when I did your name, you have nothing but 1s in your name. Well, you got a 4, but all the other numbers, actually, your name, as you spell it, Tajia, adds up to an 8. I'm doing it under the Chaldean system. And it tells me that 8 in a name often gives the impression of being misunderstood, being cold or distant. It indicates there's a heightened probability one of the parents who named you was either a Capricorn or an Aquarius or a Libra, or born on the 8th, the 17th, or the 26th, followed by the 4th, the 13th, the 22nd, or the 31st of the month. And it also indicates that this particular year, you have been in a 4-cycle year, a year where you probably had to put in the work up a sweat, get it together, have a game plan and a strategy. But the nice thing about it is you're moving into a year that's complementary to your zodiac sign, as well as the year that's going to, hold on. This is what I'm talking to her. All righty. And so what it simply means is that there's a change underway for you. You're at a pivot point in your life where you're going to make the kind of changes that it definitely, without question, that should bring about opportunities, possibilities, and things of that nature. Your birthday month is a month of reflection, meditation, quiet space, probably a desire to go somewhere where there's the sand, sea, and sun, and you just kind of like get into yourself. But that's kind of be the year it is going to be. So I thank you for this. Now, this is Melanated 8, okay? She is born on March the 11th of 1967. Now, I see only one pair of numbers, which are 1s. All the other numbers are different. You got a 0, a 3, a 9, a 6, and a 7. So this is kind of more like balance per se, but she would be a water sign with a master number 11. Okay. And so what I look at is that this year she's been in a 5. So that means she's at the midway point in her 9-year journey. She is at a point where now she's about to move into the cycle of, I call it romance and finance, because she's entering a 6th cycle year. And I always explain it this way: in door number 1, if there's a desire for companionship, those conditions are greatly increased to become available to do so. If they're already in a relationship and dating, but there's not any commitments, more than likely we'll move up to the next step. Let's date exclusively, let's live more, date or live together, whatever. However, on the 3rd door, if you've been going into the year and a relationship has been kind of on the edge, kind of like, a little uncertain, there's a chance there might be some termination. But the point is this: for you, Melanated 8, it's going to be a wonderful time to go back to school. It's going to be a good time to get involved in a weight loss or exercise program. I have noticed, though, when women especially are about to enter a 6th cycle year, which actually you got a preview back in October of last month, they're more than likely, if you haven't done so already, you might be thinking about doing something with your hair, restyling it, cutting it, growing it, or something, okay? But it's going to be a good time. So yes, the romance part is good, but also look at the financial end of it too, because the cycle that you're in is a cycle of compensation. So let's say, for example, you entered into an arrangement with a partner or partners or people or whatever, and you kept up your end, but they did not keep up their end. Well, at some point this year, through some way, shape, or form, the law of compensation will come and make up for it. However, your key numbers are always the 2, 7, and 3, and you find that your best days, without question, are always on Mondays, Thursdays, followed by Fridays. So I want to say happy belated birthday to Serena Plus 20. Your birthday was yesterday on a Sunday, and Mercury went into retrograde on your birthday on an 11 universal day. Now, what this means is this: each number has a home around the year or the wheel. The natural home for the number 9 is always in the months of April and the month of November. So this is where you shine. 9 is a number that is normally forceful, dynamic, and in fact, this should have been a very important year for you, in the sense that since it adds up to a 9 and you're a 9, but because you've been going through a 2 personal year, so to speak, it simply means that this has been a time to be cautious or whatever the case is. And in fact, the mayoral race last Tuesday, Mamdani, who won the New York mayor, was born on the 18th. 1 + 8 is 9, and he won in a 9 universal year. So that makes sense. So for you, young lady, you too may have made some inroads this year since you're born in the 9th, and this is the year of the 9. But it does indicate you're ready to make some transitional phases in your life with either working conditions, relationship matters, or even changes around the home, rearranging it, throwing things out, bringing things in, whatever the case is. But it also tells me from this birthday, you definitely get along better with men than you do women, that's for sure. And you too, from this birthday, is likely to attract those connected with wearing of uniforms, handling tools, machines, or instruments, law enforcement, military, construction, fire, whatever the case is. And when I look at the name, Serene, Serene, you got all those 5s. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5s. Now that tells me this is a lot of air. And that means one who uses a lot of their wits about them. It tells me from this name that the secret to holding on to you is to let you go, let you breathe, because 5 is ruled by the element of air. So they like their space, they like to breathe. So if you found that you've had a relationship where you said, okay, enough is enough, and this, I don't know whether this is part of your real name or just what they call a platform name. But if it is this, with all these 5s, it tells me that's 10, 23, 24, 25. It tells me you're also very sophisticated too. It tells me you also like to ask a lot of questions. Let's say this is your name minus the plus. It tells me when your parents could have been a Pisces or Cancer or born on a date that adds up to a 2 or a 7 for the most part. But again, this year says that now things are beginning to change. So where this year has been kind of iffy and up in the air, you're about to enter a 3 personal year, which means things are about to expand. Things are about to grow. Things are about to really kind of make its presence felt that deals with your name and your reputation. So I thank you for that. Now, this is Letitia Thomas Russell, who is born on December the 15th, just a little over a month from now, born at 4:26 p.m. So that simply means your sun is sitting in the 7th house, I do believe. And what it tells me is this: you are a fire sign with an earth number. But when I look at all the numbers in your name, you've got a pair of 1s, you got a pair of 2s. Okay. The 9 was, of course you didn't admit the 19, but you have 3 1s. So with these 1s and 2s, that tells me when you do things, you know how you got some people that give orders, Letitia, and they got a mean face with it? I'd say from your birthday, when you give an order, you give it with a smile. But from that smile, they know you're not joking. Okay. I would say that is the thing for sure with that. It also indicates too that you would do well in any area where you could be of service, because people on the 15th, they normally go into 3 areas I've noticed predominantly. The first stage is always in the arts. In fact, people who are born on a 6 are normally your artists, your singers, your actors, painters, designers, something in the arts. Then later on, as they grow up or come into their own, they then want to do well, perhaps in the world of business, like working for the government, state, federal, local, real estate, banking, law. But ultimately, Letitia, is always about being of service, going into the field of nursing and counseling and social work, teaching, being a professor, whatever the case is where you can give advice. So I would say you do give advice, but you do it with a sense of leadership and yet kind of a sympathy and understanding too. Your key numbers are always the 6, the 3, and the 9. And these are the artistic colors too. The artistic chord, I should say. Now, here's my buddy. Hold on. Let me do this first. Let me do Stephen Williams, because he just had a birthday earlier this month. Happy belated birthday to you, Stephen. Now, you are, my friend, a water sign with a fire number. And you might say, well, that sounds kind of contradictory. But in the world of metaphysics, everything makes sense. First of all, you're born under a fixed sign. Scorpio is fixed. It means it's very determined. It's very focused when his mind is made up. The other fixed signs are Taurus and Aquarius and Leo. Between these 4 signs, these are the standouts when it comes to setting goals, doing things with a purpose and determination. And even if they get thrown off track, they're going to try to get back on track for sure. So because it's water, it means symbolically dealing with feelings, emotions, intuitions, hunches, things of that nature. But then see, this is why every Scorpio isn't the same. Every Taurus isn't the same. Every other sign isn't the same, because your date of birth modifies it. And what happens is yours is born on the 3rd. Now, if you were born on the 2nd, the day before, you would be a water sign with a water number that would only heighten your sensitivities, increase your emotions and feelings about things, all right? But now you have fire. So fire represents people who are very passionate, very active, very strong, determined to get up and go, especially anyone on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, like my friend Donald Thomas in Hawaii, or the 30th of the month. 3 people are very ambitious. Now, let me tell you this, and then because you're on a fixed sign, here's what I mean. Threes like to be successful. They always like to succeed. That's one of their underlying marks. They like to make something of themselves. They normally in relationships don't do bums. In other words, you can't come into my mix in a relationship and you ain't got nothing on the ball. No dreams, no goals, no things of that nature. The thing I admire about a three in a name or a birthday like yours, Stephen, is when a person says you cannot do this and you cannot do that, that makes you more determined than ever. And because your three is under a fixed sign too, that means, sir, if you look at the things you've accomplished, is because somebody says, man, you can't do that. Stephen, you'll never do that. And your attitude is watch and see what this brother's going to do. And so this year, you've been in a 5 personal year. That means you've been at the midway point in your 9-year journey. And so now you're going to be entering a year that's a 6. And your numbers are the 3, the 9, and the 6. So you're going to be entering a year that's compatible to you. So with it, I wouldn't be surprised if you and Mrs. Williams don't go on an anniversary or acknowledge it by going on a trip somewhere. It don't have to be a cruise, but, where you say, listen, honey, this is so-and-so, let's kind of get out of Dodge and whatnot. It's going to be a good time for you to go back to school. Not in the sense that you got to roll in a building with brick and mortar, but maybe something online or read a good book, but because it's an educational cycle. So educate yourself in some way, shape, or form by doing that, picking up a book, studying. And right now, I understand, I know my cousin once told me that you can learn anything. All you got to do is get on YouTube, I think. YouTube, they've got anything you want to learn is practically on YouTube. So you can kind of pick it up that way. So with that being the case, I would say that some money is coming your way too. And so I wish you nothing but the best, Stephen, and happy belated birthday, my friend. Okay, this is Omar James. Now, if you look at the birthday, see, what I do is, I add it up. I say, okay, that's the number so-and-so. This is a 4. It could be a master number 22, which I doubt, but I know it does add up to a 4. Let me do something right quick here because nope. Yep, it is. Yeah. It is an 11. It is 11. No. I stand corrected. 3, 1. Okay. No, it is a 4. It is not a master number 22. But let me say this. When I look at your name, I look at pairs. The beauty of women when they shop. Like, let me tell you how we men do. If I'm in a supermarket and I see this package and it's got this nice picture of a steak and whatnot, and, advertising is something else, I'm going to get it because it makes my mouth water, which is the whole point of why they spend so much money on branding and packaging products that we buy in the store on impulse. A woman normally don't do that. A woman, when she picks up a package for her family, she will look to see what are the ingredients is. And I notice when people do these birthdays, they just do the month, the day, and the year. And I understand that. What I've learned how to do is look to see what are the ingredients that went into it becoming a 4 destiny or life path or birth path or being in the 4th grade in the school of life. So I see right away there are a pair of 0s, there are a pair of 2s, with 2s are the predominant number that indicates. And then when I look at your name, Omar, under the Chaldean system, you got 2 2s in the R's, okay? So when I do that, that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So even the name Omar adds up to a 7, which is kind of low key. But the point is this, being a Taurus 5 person, born on the same day as Shakespeare and the other couple of famous people of note, it tells me that you would be the kind of person who would be gentle in spirit, attentive, And you got the kind of birthday, really, James, where you would do well in the mechanical, mathematical sciences, computers, technology, engineering, statistics, things of that nature, something that deals with the higher sciences of engineering. It also indicates you're very even-minded because the majority of your numbers are even. There's only one odd number in your name, and that's the number 3. So that means you will be pretty much balanced, very strategic oriented too, okay? And so, however, setting all that aside, I would say that from your birthday, being an earth sign with an air number, that you would be the kind of person that would be more flexible, more adjustable. And the fact that you're born on the 23rd day, which is a 5, tells me you're probably a fast learner, very well-rounded in terms of your skill sets. And because your name adds up to a 7, if I did it correctly in my mind, and you're a 5, that tells me you would make an excellent detective, an investigator, a researcher, an analyst, someone who goes down the rabbit holes to get to the bottom of things. And so it's interesting because even your name, James, adds up to a 14-5. So it tells me that your family, you're born in a family that's very kind of multifaceted. One will do this, one will do that. You know how you got some families where a lot of them come out of the military, a lot of them come out of nursing, a lot of them come out of this, that, and the other field. Well, your family members tells me one brother will be doing this, you'll be doing something completely different, whatever the case is. However, your key numbers, though, regardless of the 5, 6, and 9, and your best days are always, without exceptions, on a Wednesday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Friday, and a Tuesday. Okay. And actually, you're going into a, let's see, so you're in a 9. So you're going into one personal year. So your universal, your personal year is same matching as a universal year. So it means new things are underway for you. I'll just do one more. Okay. And I'll take Philly Cat, who is a Pisces 6 person. And if you look at her birthday, she's got a pair of 6s, and the rest of the numbers are different with a 1 and a 9. But Philly Cat would do well in areas where she can kind of like, 6s have this strong sense of home and family and stability. 6s also can be very stubborn if things don't quite go their way, although very charming, very open, very influential. And the fact that you're born in the year of the 6, 1968, adds up to a 6, and you're in a 6. That tells me that where you are now is probably where you're going to be kind of up the road anyway, because things are 6s. However, I'm looking at the fact that you will be entering a 1 personal year, which means you're going to be, excuse me, making a fresh start, getting things together in the way you want to. And so I would say you got a lot of things that's going to be underway for you, Philly Cat. And your key numbers are always the 6, 3, and 9 in that order, which means you have a gift for the arts in some way. And I'm going to, by the way, my man DS, how you doing, buddy? Who is November the 6th. And he is a water sign with an earth number. Now, this makes him more grounded in that sense. Grounded in the sense that, you know, if you plant anything on God's green earth, you put seeds in soil, then you water it, and then it makes for growth. Well, that tells me he would always be very, very much down to earth, very pragmatic, very steadfast in what he believes. And when he feels he's right, because 6s can be very stubborn, obstinate, and they won't yield. Okay. He is in an 8 personal year right now, which means he's going to be entering a 9. And since his numbers are the 6, 9, and 3, and he's going to be entering a year that favors one of his second best numbers, which is the 9, it tells me, DS, that now you can look forward to some of your dreams come true. You can look forward to beginning to weed out things that you feel you've outgrown and has no longer serves a purpose. And there's also some possibilities of a long distance trip too. And I see you got a pair of 8s, you got a pair of 1s. It's like looking at cards. What kind of cards are you holding in your hands from your birthday? All righty. So I will do one more, and that is Divine Love. And so she is a Pisces 4. So she's a water sign with an air number. All of her numbers are different with the 2 zeros. Okay. She's born in 1989. So she's got a pair of 8s. 1990, 1989. So she's got a pair of 9s, excuse me. All righty. But the point is this year, since she's been in a 7 cycle, it should have been a cycle where she stopped, looked, and listened, made an assessment of her life, began to question deeply why she's done the things she's doing or have done, what she's moving on. Now she's about to move into a power cycle, the cycle of the 8. With it comes a lot of achievements and possible recognitions, a lot of growing up, and it's an ancestral cycle too, connecting with people you haven't seen by way of weddings, funerals, christenings, reunions, baby showers, whatever the case is like that. But you always like to think outside the box. That is for sure. And this year right now says what's left of it, to not to chase, but to really go by what you feel. Okay. So everybody, I do want to thank you very, very much for that. Even though you can't see me, I'm glad you can at least see our supporters, which is Recept. Please click on the QR code to see if you can use their services. Melinda Valentine, who is numeralytics.net. Her number is there at the very bottom, which is where you can call and get information already. And she has published a 4-part journal with all the elements. Right now, we're in the element of water. So this is her water sign book. Also, one of our supporters is Dr. Uchenna Hackett. His book has been available on ebook, but now it's available on, and he has an accompanying journal that goes with it where you can document it. I would hope to have him on near the end of the month. So now that the book is out, so he can go into it in detail. Also, Nicholas Brooklyn, who is always having events there at 1396 Fulton Street. You owe it to yourself to visit that store. It is an amazing store with an amazing frequency of vibration. And this particular, coming up on the 14th, I think it's a Friday. Yep. They're going to have this paint and sip and friendship. So that should be interesting. And then on Saturday and Sunday, King Simon will be there celebrating his years. I think it's even $33 because he's celebrating 33 years. So I think it's well worth it. I will be there to show love for him on Sunday, the 16th of November. Then also, Miss Kimberly Manifests on Purpose. Do pick up a copy of her book. And also, of course, do, by all means, pick up your audio book that's available, Knocking from the Inside. It's a great, great book to have. Please pick up a copy of my newsletter. It is absolutely free. However, if you want to hear the recording of it, and by the way, in this recording, I went more into the armistice because everything was about 11. It was 11/11, so I really went deeper. So what I showed today was nothing that you will hear on the recording itself. Please pick up a star 8 you can use for your mobile app on your phone, whether it's Android or Apple, and let me know what you think about it. It's exciting. So anyway, I do want to thank everybody very, very much. I cannot explain why you can't see me, but I can see me as plain as day. I got to figure out what's going on. There's something that's going on I don't quite understand. In the meantime, I want to thank all of you. Jazz, thank you for kind of giving me an inside tip of what's going on. And everybody, I do thank you very, very much. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, all righty, in 2 days. But don't forget, as of yesterday, Mercury went retrograde, so don't assume. Be careful how you express yourself. Be careful of how you handle electronics and all those other things. But in the meantime, have a good day.